Videos like this are made possible by viewers like you. I fact-checked Infinite Waters for 1 week, and it was a long week. Ralph Smart, the guy that runs Infinite Waters, he's held nothing back this week. He's given us relationship advice, he's given us law of attraction stuff, don't know if you can call that advice, and he's also given us a whole load of conspiracy theories, mainly to do with the pandemic and about how some evil, scary elite's trying to control us all. Just normal kind of internet stuff these days, I guess. So strap in, because it is going to be a bit of a long video, and let's talk about this. Hey everyone, if you're new here, I'm Andy Fellows and I make videos on cult, skepticism and making sense of life after New Age spirituality. If you're interested in a more grounded and skeptical approach to New Age spirituality, then why not subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And by the way, if you're enjoying my channel and you want to help support it, then the best way to do that is through Patreon. There's a link to that in the description below. Right, so let's jump into this. Day 1, Ralph released a video called Something You Need to Hear ASAP. The solution.
Vaccinations. What are we going to do about what's happening on the planet? Immunity passports. What are we going to do about what's happening on the planet? The solution is to realize this. Every single day, make sure you are getting out, absorbing all of that vitamin D. My immune system is being boosted every single day just by me being out here. That's the solution, because apparently right now a lot of people are getting sick, right? I heard that. Not me. Not the cat down the road. Why? Because we are bathed in that sunlight.
So we're on day 1 of fact-checking Ralph Smart. Now, I don't know whether the sun is medicine, but I don't think the sun's medicine. As far as I do know, it will boost your immune system and it will help you fight stuff off, or at least prevent you getting as sick as you would have got otherwise. But I don't think the sun is medicine. Also, cats don't get their vitamin D from the sun. They tend to get it from their diet. Funny that, they are covered in fur, so the vitamin D would have to get through the fur. Anyway.
We got to remind ourselves, if you are in artificial light all the time in front of the computer, once again, make sure the solution, you have the blue light glasses. I wear those for my live streams.
The evidence that we have on the blue light situation right now is that maybe blue light glasses don't do that much, but we do know that blue light does affect us and it does affect our ability to regulate our melatonin. The benefits experienced from blue light glasses may be placebo, but if it's working for you, it's working for you, so why not enjoy it, right? Funnily enough, on the point of blue light, we're exposed to it all the time and have been since before we had these kinds of devices. In fact, most of the blue light we get is from the actual sun. So Ralph's whole thing about the sun being good because it's natural when it's there and the devices being bad because they're unnatural, there's more grey area there than he's allowing for, I think.
The sunlight will heal you. The sun will heal you. Our ancestors spent most of the day outside in front of the sun, and that's why they didn't have all of these illnesses we have right now.
That's absolutely not true. I mean, so there's been some new illnesses obviously that we've been dealing with recently, like the virus with the pandemic and stuff, but the same illnesses have been around for a long time as far as we know. You know, we've found evidence, archaeological evidence of people dying from basically the same things that we're dying from now, because humans haven't changed that much, and the same sicknesses, the same illnesses have been around with us for the longest time. And most of history, up until the advent of modern medicine, which is not something that Ralph's going to want to hear, but up until the advent of modern medicine, we were dying en masse to the point where if you got to adulthood, you were one of the lucky ones, right? Because kids, there just weren't that many kids around. Kids were valuable. So people would have huge families just on the chance that maybe someone would actually make it to adulthood and be able to carry on the bloodline and carry on the family. Ralph decided he was going to change it up a little bit for day 2 and give us some relationship advice. He released a video called How to Choose a Partner Wisely.
You see, some people only want 5 minutes of fun, stuffing a whole load of cucumbers in their mouth.
Generally, this video is like a sort of 17-18 minute gish gallop on Ralph's part. The advice generally is just be with someone who is as much like me as you are. The whole thing is him sort of setting standards so high that they're almost impossible to meet. The person needs to have the same outlook as you. They need to have the same diet as you.
It's what I call the greater alignment. Food has to be in alignment. Values have to be in alignment. Commitment has to be in alignment. Love, compassion, and respect has to be in alignment. Appreciation has to be in alignment. Both of you have to be on the same page.
Give without any consideration for what they might get back in return.
Stay away from people who only give you something because they want something back in return. When you you have someone around you who just gives freely, they don't want anything back in return, this is a pure love.
They need to be willing to travel like 5 hours to see you for one.
Be with someone who drives 5 hours just to see you for one.
It's just setting that bar so high that it seems like it's almost impossible for people to be that.
Where do these people exist? They exist, deep divers. I just don't know where.
Why are you giving that advice then if you don't know that, like, you can't, the irony of this video is that the whole tone of it really is you should be loved for who you are. You should be accepted for who you are. Choose someone who chooses you, right? That's the kind of stuff he's saying. But then he's also setting the standard for who this other person is ridiculously high, and he's creating this ideal version of a potential partner in his mind, by the sounds of it, and in the minds of his viewers as well. It's basically like fall in love with someone who's exactly who you want them to be, and make sure that they love you for who you are. It just seems very one-sided. It's like setting up a relationship that's just maybe not a very good relationship, especially for the other person here. It just doesn't sound great, especially knowing what New Agers are like when they think they're right about something. Really condescending. Can you imagine that? This is really one-sided relationship where this person has to be everything you want them to be, but you get to be loved for who you are because you're the exception to the rule, because you're just amazing, right? And you deserve that. Controversial opinion, I don't think that relationship advice should be given in a 20-minute video on YouTube in a stream of consciousness format to nobody in particular with no prior knowledge of their circumstances. Just saying. What I would be interested to know, though, is if this advice has actually helped anybody. Like, has this helped anybody get into a relationship that they're actually happy in? Or does this just help people to feel better about the potential that they could meet someone that's exactly their dream person? Like falling in love with an idea. Overall, this video, while there's absolutely zero to fact check because he's just sort of giving his opinions and his advice, it's not terrible advice on every count, I don't think, but it's generally sort of trite platitudes, and I feel like Ralph does a disservice to his viewers and also his own knowledge, by the sounds of it, on some of these issues by not nailing down and exploring some of the nuances of what he's saying, because some of the things that he says, I'm like, that could be true, but it's not really clear what he means by what he's saying. So why am I critiquing Ralph Smart's videos now? Everything that he could be doing to make what he's saying good advice, he's not doing. He's just sort of breezing through these things, making people feel good about what he's saying, hitting the platitudes along the way, hitting those dog whistles and the buzzwords along the way.
Your hunger has to match their hunger. Go for what feels good. The greatest relationship you can have is with yourself. Become a magnet of attraction, coming from a place of abundance, not lack. You want to be with someone who's proud to have you in their life.
And then just getting his keyword, his key phrase in repeatedly.
How to choose the right partner, how to find the right partner for you, how to know someone's right for you, how to choose the right partner. To choose the right partner, how to choose the right partner. That's how to choose the right partner. To choose the right partner, to choose the right partner. And that's how to choose the right partner.
Nothing to fact check. So we're off to a great start. Day 1, some fact checking. Day 2, 0 to fact check and just a lot of iffy advice. We will see what day 3 brings. Come day 3, according to Ralph Smart, it's about to get scarier.
Time is running out. Oh, the clock is ticking. Time is running out. It's about to get scarier.
It's about to get scarier, according to Ralph Smart, even though he only preaches love and not fear. You don't have to be scared, though, as long as you do what Ralph suggests, or you follow his leading questions to their obvious conclusion. As long as you do that, everything's fine. Right? Some zingers in this video. So let's just get through these claims, shall we?
Qantas Airlines, okay? In Australia, what's happened? The CEO of Qantas said, hey, for you to get on board one of our planes, you must, emphasize the must, have a proof of vaccination. Otherwise, you ain't going anywhere.
So that does seem to be true. What I think is important to recognize here is that Qantas are a private company and they are well within their rights to put these restrictions up. It's not a must to travel with Qantas. It's not a must to travel for work even, you know, because no one's forcing you to do that job, right? You can still quit on principle if you feel the need to, right? What we're talking about here isn't a must. This is not compulsory vaccination. This is if you want to travel with Qantas Airlines, you have to meet their specific requirements. All companies have this. That have requirements of their customers. That's their prerogative to put that restriction in place, right? Also, he claims that Ticketmaster's doing the same, and I'll read this off here. I'll put this up on the screen for you. Ticketmaster clarifies after a misunderstanding, after a billboard story and some false claims online. Ticketmaster put out a statement on Twitter, right? Because Ralph has basically said,
Ticketmaster just said, hey, if you want to go to a concert, you must show proof of vaccination.
But as ever, there's a little bit more to this than what Ralph's sort of letting on. So it says here, we know there's been some incorrect information being reported around safety entry requirements and want to ensure everyone has all the facts. To clarify, there is absolutely no requirement from Ticketmaster mandating vaccines or testing. In a full statement on Ticketmaster's site, the company writes that it is trying to prepare for potential possibilities in the future, adding that if this is something venues ask fans to do in the future, it wants to be prepared. Again, we're not talking about mandatory. We're talking about, at this point, Ticketmaster doing their best to prepare for any potential requirements from venues, specifically venues. So literally, it won't be that all Ticketmaster purchases will lead to this. It would just be if certain venues have certain restrictions, then it will come up probably something like the venue you're trying to book at has this requirement. If you would still like to go to this, then you have to meet this requirement. The way that people like Ralph position this stuff makes it sound so much scarier than it is, but it's not that at all.
It's about this or it's about that. So let me play devil's advocate, okay? It's about health, deep divers. There is a virus going around called COVID-19 and you must take the vaccine. Even though usually it takes 10 years on average to get a vaccine to the public, we have one in record-breaking time within a few months.
And now this is something that I was a bit sort of wary of as well, but thanks to Ralph, I've actually now had to go and look this up to verify the truth of the statement. So what I've found is this: the speed of a vaccine's development, it's not that it has to take a certain amount of time in order for it to be safe, it's that it usually takes a certain amount of time, more often than not. And that's down to a certain process that these things usually go through when they start to figure out what vaccines are going to work, what ideas they've got for sort of potentially trying out different vaccines. They start with hundreds of potentials and they whittle it down to about one, and that's where it goes through to the formal testing phase, which takes 1 to 2 years. I'm getting this off of a site which I've linked below. By the looks of it, what's happened with the Pfizer's RNA vaccine, which we talked about in the previous Ralph Smart video as well, is that this vaccine has gone through those initial stages quicker, probably due to the incentive of both getting it on the shelves, because there's a little bit of money in being the first ones to have developed a vaccine like this, and also the urgency of it being related to a pandemic as well. What we're looking at obviously here is that this hasn't taken years and years and years and years to get to the point where it's testing, because they've been able to get it through the initial phases to the point where they've been able to figure out a vaccine that works. And according to Pfizer, who are the ones who have developed this vaccine, they're having a more than 90% success rate on testing this vaccine as well. There's an obvious concern there. You know, my feeling, I've got this little loop in my hair. I had this feeling of like, is this too quick? Is this thing being rushed through or not? And actually that fear, that concern for me was coming out of not quite understanding the process well enough. So now that I understand it a bit better, I'm a little bit less nervous about that. Another thing Ralph talks about is Operation Moonshot. So Operation Moonshot is basically this rapid testing for COVID that's been rolled out to the general population. So when Ralph's talking about it, he's talking about some sort of big nefarious thing that sounds like, again, the Operation Moonshot. Now, when you put operation in front of something and then it comes out of a conspiracy theorist's mouth, it immediately sounds scarier than it is. And I feel it sort of alludes to that shoot for the moon and land among the stars, which actually makes total sense when you consider that, as I say, according to The Guardian, only 46.7% of these tests that they're doing have been successful. And so what's happened is they've basically missed more than 50% of cases when they've done this rapid testing. This is not the work of highly sort of capable, calculating puppet masters. This is the work of just scrambling incompetence, which is what we have for leadership in many places in the world right now. If this whole operation is being run by puppet masters, there's been a change of management in the Illuminati recently because it's not running how it used to run.
Is it about testing or is it about tagging electronically?
And the thing is you can say anything you want if you've got no regard for the truth or verifying anything you're saying. You can just make stuff up then, can't you? And it sounds like this is kind of what's happening with Ralph. But then I guess Ralph's not making any claims, is he? He's just asking questions. My favourite one so far in this little experiment.
The guy who made the PCR tests, Carrie Mullis, said it was never supposed to be used for testing for COVID-19.
Now, Carrie Mullis died August the 7th in 2019, before COVID-19 was named, I believe, after it emerged in China. So in order for him to have stated that his testing that he developed was never intended to be used for COVID-19, he would have had to, I guess, have communicated that through some sort of seance. I mean, it's obviously he invented it way, way, way before COVID-19. So obviously it wasn't intended for that. But for him to have said that would have required a message from the great beyond. So also the quote is apparently from an article written by someone called John Lauritsen in December 1996. And so by virtue of it having been written in December 1996, it is nothing to do with COVID. It's actually in reference to AIDS and HIV as far as I have been able to figure out. It's nothing to do with whether or not the test can detect COVID in a human. Anyway, so that's day 3. Come day 4, we've got the generally grounded and very reasonable title, How to Speak to the Universe to Create Any Reality You Want.
Life is an echo. The words we speak can come back to haunt us. The words we speak can empower us. The words we speak can help us manifest. Life is an echo.
So it's a law of attraction video, which is nice. In principle, to an extent, I sort of agree on the value of like speaking positively. But what I don't agree with is where he kind of takes that towards a universal thing and sort of a metaphysical concept of like, by virtue of thinking or speaking something, then you literally create that. You literally make that thing real in your life.
You end up becoming the exact words you are speaking. Speak of yourself highly at all times. Also remind yourself that I am are the 2 most powerful words in the universe. Whatever you put after that, you will become. If I say I don't want my life to go badly, I'm now imagining my life going badly and my thoughts become a reality. So we have to start visualizing what we want and then speaking that into existence every single day.
To an extent, but then there's also a point there where it's like, sometimes the appropriate thing to do is not speak so highly of yourself. Sometimes you've made mistakes, sometimes you've ballsed something up, and sometimes you need to be real with yourself. And that kind of sometimes means that you're not going to be talking highly of yourself. You're not going to be thinking highly of yourself. And I feel like moving through your emotions naturally sometimes includes not thinking or speaking highly of yourself. And that is part of making sense of things. At least that's been my experience. And that's kind of fine. I feel like this kind of an approach to having what you want in life can be quite limiting of your own experience, your own emotional experience, and sorry, the cats are just running riot in the background. And I think it can also sort of affect your connection with yourself as well. And it could be quite restrictive, creating unnecessary tension in your life, which I definitely experienced when I was involved with sort of the new agey sort of stuff as well.
Words are things. Be mindful of what you speak. It can become a reality. And also, words aren't enough. They must also be backed up by your actions. So when you speak about something, then do something about it. Don't tell me your plans, deep divers, show me.
Then what's the mystical part of this then? If your words and your actions directly affect strings of cause and effect in the world, in life, what is the mystical component of this? Like, where's the energetic component here? Like, what's that responsible for? And if it's just words and actions, why call it the law of attraction at all? I've said this before. If it's just words and actions, why not just call it the law of thinking and then doing? Why call it the law of attraction and create this whole mystical law around it? It doesn't make any sense. Come day 5, Ralph hadn't released a video by the time I actually wanted to sit down and respond to the video, so I just went back to the previous day's live stream, because he did a live stream, to respond to that instead. Good morning, day 5. It's colder
Florida today, so I got my scarf on. Time is running out, humans. Live's in capitals, so he shouted it, but I ain't shouting. Weird comment on this live stream. At one point in it, he sort of referred to humans as if he wasn't one, which is sort of strange. The main thing that he's talked about in here that I've taken from it has been this idea of an immunity passport. He's talking about an immunity passport. He's implying in what he's saying quite strongly that it's not about health and safety, it's about control. And this is, standard conspiracy theory trope, isn't it? The idea of control and some nefarious sort of big sort of power that wants control for some reason, some sort of nebulous, ethereal reason that usually leads to energy leaching of some kind. He also says, if this health immunity passport thing is about safety and health, then why are people still starving in the world? Which doesn't make, what have the two things got to do with each other is total nonsense. Also seems to imply that they that are responsible for world hunger are the same they that are responsible for the health or immunity passport idea. And it is still an idea at this point, as far as I've been able to tell, and I've been looking up sort of as many sources on this kind of stuff as I can. And I can't find any real evidence that we're moving forward on this idea. It's still very much an idea. It was floated, months back. And it doesn't look like we're any closer to actually making it happen, because we need more data to determine whether it's even a viable idea. It's an idea, but we don't know if it's a viable one yet, as far as I'm able to tell. So while there are reasonable concerns regarding sort of free movement with this immunity or health passport thing, and I haven't been able to find any reputable sources that say that this is something that's happening imminently. Really, it's just kind of conversation going on, mainly from tech companies, not from governments or sort of world leaders in any real regard. World leaders and people in positions of power have commented on its viability, but they haven't commented on actually making it happen. I believe Chile is considering it or have started to make it happen. But again, the trouble is that we don't know enough about how long the immunity to the virus actually lasts at this point, as far as I've been able to tell. And that is only one of several things that need to be considered if the immunity passport thing is going to be possible at all. From what I can tell, this news on the health and immunity passport thing is mainly fluff news, and it's mainly coming from people who are sort of business, techie people who are discussing it. So they, in this regard, this big, nefarious, evil they, are composed mostly of business and tech people. Which brings us to day 6, which is now, here. And he released a video called How to Cope When Things Get Hard. In today's video, Ralph was kind of just encouraging people to reframe the things in their life that make them feel bad, things that upset them, which generally I don't really take much of an issue with that, and that can be quite a good thing. Although I do feel like low-key Ralph is like a master of this. There's a reason that people come away from his videos and then comment on my previous videos where I'm sort of debunking him, saying, oh, Ralph's just spreading love, man, he's just positive, and that's the impression I feel that Ralph gives. But when you actually look at the content and you actually look at what he's saying, at least 40%, if not more, is conspiracy theory stuff that you could do a quick Google on. I say a quick Google. I've spent at least an hour every day, a medium length Google on, and get facts which clearly, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, more often than not, show that he's talking absolute nonsense when he's making these claims. Of course, if you don't believe these sources and you think that they've just been put there by the Illuminati or whatever, then obviously you've got a bit of a problem in that regard, haven't you? Because who are you going to trust then? This guy that makes you feel good, or just like the secret NASA spy who's posting on a verified website that has a reputation to maintain? The question is how much of his content really is sort of a positive, encouraging, empowering message when the subject matter usually revolves around, when he's not giving relationship advice and law of attraction advice and stuff, usually revolves around how there's an evil conspiracy to turn you into RoboCop using microchips and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the first couple of minutes of today's video, Ralph's kind of starting off strong, with his normal motivational introduction, lots of repetition of his catchphrases and all that kind of stuff. And then he just sort of dives into this life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you kind of a rhetoric. Sort of empowering motivational stuff that was really big in the 80s,
You can use this time wisely when you are in lockdown. Make sure you come out of this experience sharpening your skills.
And then he gets on to talking about how some people are upset because lockdown's happening again in the UK, which is where he's based, I believe.
We can feel sorry for ourselves and have a pity party and say, hey, COVID-19 ruined my travel plans. Lockdown ruined my travel plans.
Okay, some people are going to be upset by that, but more people, I would hope, it might not be the case, but I would hope that more people are upset by losing their loved ones and like having people that they care about at risk than what it means to be in lockdown. Although I do understand that some people had holidays planned. Although I feel like there's also a middle ground there where people are upset about lockdown, but they also have accepted that it's a necessity, but they also realise that in not working and stuff, they might not be getting the money they used to get, so they're worried about their rent and things like that. Like that's also a reality, and the point of view Ralph's speaking from here seems to only be taken into consideration the somewhat more trivial concern of not being able to get your tan. Also, who's traveling in the winter? I suppose some people go away for Christmas. I've never understood that myself. Overall, the message in this video, I don't fully disagree with it. I feel like generally, you know, if you're in that frame of mind where you're sort of low motivation and you need someone to sort of pick you up, then this kind of advice, this kind of like, you are in control, you are in charge, bad things happen, but you need to make the best of them, and you can go and you know, that's kind of fine. It's kind of like nothing new. But yeah, Ralph kind of did highlight the point that for some people, lockdown's an opportunity to sort of recalibrate your life vision, if you like, and I get that to a point. But then also it's not that for a lot of people, and I think, you know, it's that classic thing, isn't it? When you're offering advice broadly on the internet, it's not going to land for everyone. It's not going to be appropriate for everyone, and there's going to be a significant cross-section where people think it applies for them, and it is a good idea, so they're going to try it. It's going to go bad. In making this video, one of the things that really stood out to me, and I hope that this is a bit of a takeaway for you in watching it as well, is that Ralph puts out 20-minute, 30-minute videos most days. And in order for me to go through those and pick out the pieces of information that were based on things that could be verified and then go away and fact check those things, took me minimum 40 minutes to an hour a day, and on average, I would say probably about an hour and a half. And that's a long time to dedicate to have to verify what somebody's saying in a video. And of course, he's not included his sources as well. I think the trouble is with this kind of stuff is that it sounds good and it makes people feel good. But when you're sitting there and you're just lapping it up and you're not going out there and fact checking these things, you may end up believing things that aren't true. As far as I'm concerned with a channel like Ralph's, while it may be, you know, positive and pleasant and sort of empowering and encouraging to hear what he has to say, if you're not double checking the things that he's saying and you are just taking his word for stuff, then you may end up believing in a version of reality which isn't so based on the facts. And what I saw when I was fact checking all this stuff from Ralph was that he's spinning it into a story that he seems to believe, that he thinks is real and that he thinks is representative of reality. But actually, when you dig a little bit deeper than he seems to have dug, you can see that there's more to this picture than he's actually saying there is. Now, I don't know whether that's intentional on Ralph's part, and I wouldn't want to make any assumptions about that, but it doesn't seem to me to be the best place to get your facts from. Maybe it's encouraging, maybe it's empowering, but if you want to know what's going on in the world, don't go to some random on YouTube, even if they've got nearly 2 million subscribers. Go to reputable sources, double check, triple check, and you will find that your version of reality is A, significantly less scary, and B, quite naturally a little bit more empowering. And maybe you wouldn't need to be empowered by this kind of a person on the internet if your version of reality that you believed was real was a little bit more based on the facts, because things are usually not as bad as they seem. That's my takeaway anyway. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was a bit of a long one. If you made it this far, stick the word cranberry in the comments below so I know you did, and we can confuse everybody who didn't make it this far and go, why is everyone writing cranberry in the comments? I'm Andy Fellows. I'm here pretty much every Thursday. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And if you do want to support the channel, then check out Patreon in the description below. Otherwise, please be kind and ask good questions, and I'll see you in the next one.